So we're just waiting for some people to come in and then we're gonna start the live in a bit. So hello guys. Hi Sir Carlo. Hello everyone. I'm just waiting for the viewers to go up a bit and then we'll start. Hi everyone. Hello, good evening. So I think we can start now. So hello. Hi Marielle. Hi Captain Miro. Hello everyone. So good evening and welcome to another episode of Matters That Matter. And today is August 21. It's another day of extension of quarantine here in the Philippines. We're under MECQ now, modified enhanced community quarantine. But I hope you guys are still safe, you guys are still okay. Sana nasa maayos tayong kalagayan. And of course, please stay healthy, please stay safe, please always follow the health and safety protocols. And of course, get your vaccines, guys. Please get vaccinated or have your schedules from your local governments. And of course, please take care of one another by practicing social distancing. And as we talk about the world issues, I also like to take this moment for us to pray also and to care about our people from Afghanistan that are going through something and going through a very hard time in their life, really. So, sana po pag-pray po natin sila and of course, care about them and help in our little way by sharing news about them, donating if you guys have the means, and of course, register tayo guys for the upcoming election next year. I think the Commission on Elections won't be extending yung registration for the voters registration. So I hope you guys would register so that we can vote as one next year. And of course, it is our duty to contribute to change. And our small efforts can always make a difference. And of course, before we started with all the talks that we're gonna discuss about tonight, I would just like to encourage everyone also to please get involved, guys. Use your platforms to talk about the things that truly matters that matter. No matter how many your followers are, kahit 5 lang yan, 10, 15, 100, 100K, please use your platform to voice out your opinions, your thoughts about things. And of course, please always be reminded that our range of influence, our web of connection will always be tantamount to the change that we can make as people, as humans. And of course, our voices can still be heard no matter how small we think that voice may be. So I hope you guys would use your platform. I hope you guys will talk about that matter. So yeah, so moving forward, we have 20 plus viewers. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining me this Saturday evening here at the episode 2 of Matters That Matter. So again, I am Joy Barcoma. Welcome to the episode 2 of Matters That Matter. So moving forward, I know you guys were also there on my pilot episode and we talk about sustainability with Miss Amy Nertini, Miss Eco International 2019, and I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. And as promised, we will be discussing world issues, social issues that matter. Well, technically or basically based on my IG series title. So thank you so much for your comments, guys. Keep it coming because later we'll be reading some of your questions together with my lovely guests for this evening. So thank you so much for tuning in with me this Saturday. And yeah, so tonight we're gonna talk about something that is truly relevant, especially nowadays. So we will talk about the trends and issues in an ever-changing educational landscape in the Philippines. Lalo na ngayon, pasukan na. So papasukan na yung mga estudyante. Of course, it's a busy season. We're gonna learn a lot. And of course, meron na naman tayong mga asikaso yung mga paperworks, projects, and all the things that excite us as students. So, gaano nga ba ka-importante ang edukasyon sa Pilipinas? And to talk about that this evening, thank you. To talk about that this evening, syempre, hindi naman tayo mag-iimbita lang ng people na basta-basta. We have invited together with Sir Carlos Sapurco some beautiful women, of course, with great educational backgrounds, very successful women, and of course, very beautiful. So, the beauty and brains ng ating mga guests for this evening. So, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And I will introduce our first guest, of course. So thank you so much, comments. Anyway, since we're gonna talk about education, it's our topic for this evening sounds like a very complex topic because it really is. It's education. It is a long running issue in the Philippines na kalidad nga ba ang edukasyon na nakukuha natin. So that is what we're gonna find out this evening, and of course the guests that we have invited are very well-rounded guests. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first guest for this evening. Thank you so much. Their credentials are no joke, guys. I promise. So our first guest is an actress, a stunt woman, a martial arts practitioner, and she took her master's in Chinese cinema in Beijing, China. So, diba? Grabe. And she also lived both in a Chinese monastery in Yunnan province and a military school in Henan, both in China, of course, and trained in Shaolin Kung Fu for a year, 8 hours a day, or even more than. So imagine the dedication of this girl or this woman. And she funded also her education through scholarships and holds a degree in BA in film and new media production. She is also a Pol Sci graduate at New York University, Abu Dhabi, and has a master's degree in economics. Also, she is a Binibining Pilipinas former candidate, a very beautiful guest for this evening. So she is also multilingual, so let's not wait for her anymore. Over, and I'm gonna name her once she's in live. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. Hello, and ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julia Sobier. Am I reading your surname right? Miss Julia.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, you did a great job. Great pronunciation.
Oh, thank you. I have actually watched a lot of videos that for me to be able to read your surname correctly. So, Julia Sobier. I watched your Binibining Pilipinas stint when you talked about your advocacy. I watched you in Binibining Pilipinas 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So, hello, I'm so happy that you're here. Do you want to say something to our viewers for this evening?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Good on everyone trying to get educated on a Saturday night in the Philippines. So yeah, it's very nice to be here with you, Joy, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm using Joy's fan account, so follow that account. Support. I'm sure you are too.
Thank you, Miss Julia. But I'm gonna put you on hold for a few minutes. I'm just gonna introduce our second guest for this evening. I know you guys are so amazing. I'm still overwhelmed by this opportunity. So thank you so much, Miss Julia. But to everyone who is watching for this evening, our second guest worked as a senior educational consultant for a U.S. education firm in Dubai. She also worked before moving to Dubai as an Education USA ambassadress for the U.S. Embassy in Manila. And she taught Arabic language and Middle Eastern culture in her hometown in Pampanga at Holy Angel University. She also worked for the Thailand Ministry of Education and was a consultant for UNESCO. So grabe sila. I'm so jealous of their credentials. It's too much. It's piling up. I have to list it on on paper because it's too much. And of course, she graduated with honors from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., obtained her master's degree in international education policy from Harvard University, and was the only Filipino in her graduating class. She has a lot more achievements like Miss Julia Sobier and accomplishments, and I cannot really say it all here because it's going to take me a long while. But to sum it all up, she is an endorser, a model, a graphic designer, an award-winning poet, inspirational speaker, a ballerina, a violinist, and a self-taught pianist, and also a beauty queen. Without further ado, I'm calling in to join us in the live Miss World Philippines 2016. She is the first princess of 2016. Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. Ladies and gentlemen, my God, I hope she joins in a minute. I'm inviting over Miss Arian Kalingo. Hello, Miss Arian.
Hi, Julia. Hi, Joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much also for giving me the opportunity to talk to you girls this evening. You guys look so wonderful. I'm so overwhelmed. I truly am so happy to have you guys here tonight. Do you have anything to say to the viewers tonight, Miss Arian?
Well, I'm so excited to be part of this Matters That Matter. This is the second episode, right?
Yes, it is.
And I'm doing this alongside Julia, who's my friend, and that's so cool. I haven't spoken to Julia in a long time, but I'm really excited to hear her insights on the education system as well.
Well, I'm so happy that you guys will get to talk about now, to talk about the education now in my life. And I'm truly happy that you guys are here and available and for giving me your time to interview you guys this evening. So to start off, how was it like studying abroad? Coming to from Miss Julia Sobier first.
Yeah, it was such an incredible experience. So for my undergrad, I was really lucky. I went to NYU Abu Dhabi, which is an offshoot of the New York University campus. And because it was a new campus, pretty much everyone was on a full scholarship. And so I got to travel, I got to study and do lots of internships and work experiences abroad, and everything was paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you study abroad or when you live abroad, you're really forced to understand like what parts of me are inherited, what parts of my worldview and my understanding is because of the environment that I'm in, or what parts of, you know, who I am are actually true to who I am as a person and not just influenced by my culture or society or the people that I'm around. And I think that that was probably one of the most valuable things about studying abroad. Also just the quality of education and the opportunities to work at, you know, world-renowned institutions, to learn about Turkish literature in Turkey, to learn about systemic violence in Nepal, in Kathmandu. So I think that everything was just like very incredible. And I think that Filipinos and everyone here watching should know that, you know, they are entitled to these kinds of opportunities as well, and that they are able, or they, you know, if you work hard, if you have the will, if you have the intention and desire to live a better life, to learn more, to represent your country in different, you know, avenues and fields, it is possible for you to study abroad if you don't have the money or the finances, because I couldn't afford to study abroad for my undergrad or my master's, and I managed to fund both of those completely scholarships. And so I didn't pay anything, zero. In fact, I got paid to go to school. So
Wow.
actually, though, I actually got paid to go to school. Like I received a stipend every month. And so I think that it's really important for everyone here to understand that, you know, whether it's you that has that desire or someone in your family or you have kids, it is possible. It is possible. And it's okay to dream big, because as long as the hard work and the intention is there, anything is possible.
Oh, I agree with that. Dreaming big, and I was so stoked that you were able to like study abroad while they are paying you to study. So I think I'm gonna look into that opportunity. And I hope also the viewers for tonight will learn a lot from this conversation. How about you, Miss Arian or Aryan? Am I saying your name right? I'm sorry, Miss Arian.
Aryan. Yeah,
Oh,
it
Aryan.
used to be Ariane, but then I like changed the pronunciation when I was 16. So yeah.
So how do you find it like studying abroad? Or did you also like go through like some sort of scholarships, or did you fund yourself going to school? How was it like coming from a Filipino culture and then being exposed to another culture of education abroad?
Something that I think is very unique to the US education system is their emphasis on the liberal arts. So even though I like studied education, I had the opportunity to take classes in anthropology, philosophy, chemistry. Like there was a chemistry and everyday life class that combined both chemistry and like the humanities, which I thought was really interesting. When I was at Harvard, I conducted research on Filipino youth perspectives on reported extrajudicial killings in the Philippines. So I was able to integrate my own passions and interests into my work in a lot of different classes. So I think it's really cool in the US how you're able to integrate your own passions into your work and explore them through different fields.
Oh my God, I admire your bravery for doing it or conducting a study about EJK in the Philippines, because it's still a
taboo topic and most of the speakers that I get to talk with before. So thank you for doing that. I really admire you for doing that. And of course, having been able to like study abroad and Miss Julia and Miss Ariel said that it's totally a different culture from there. Here in the Philippines, we get to like label girls or people who are, you know, speaking English in a very well manner that they are more knowledgeable. But studies recent say that although there is a considerable drop in the global rankings, we are still one of the highest English proficient learners in Asia. But then we also have the poorest ranking and reading comprehension. So what do these numbers tell us and what can we do to address these concerns, Miss Julia?
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point that's raised, and something that I actually really admire about the Philippines is our ability to speak English. I think that that should actually give us more opportunities in terms of making a global impact and having more, I guess, like business opportunities in the Philippines and investment opportunities in the Philippines, because we are such like an English literate population, and very, you know, intelligent, persevering, hardworking. And so I think that's something that definitely bothers me in terms of the like difference between people actually being able to speak English versus reading comprehension. I think that that kind of boils down to the quality of education again, and also commitment to like overall learning and also critical thinking. Because just because you're able to speak English doesn't necessarily mean that you can process information quickly, or I guess like the critical thinking skills to be able to read and analyze texts. And so I think that that has more to do with like the quality of education, you know, less to do with like the aptitude of the person, because Filipinos are like some of the most hardworking, enduring, and intelligent people. And I think that if we do have, you know, good public school education and are kind of supported in our ambitions, then I think that that will lend itself to more opportunities. But again, I think it has more to do with quality. And I would want to say though that just because you speak English, because you know, score well on certain tests, that doesn't mean you're more intelligent than someone who doesn't speak English or who doesn't have you know, high scores on tests. Because I think that actually there's so much to learn from like Filipinos who don't necessarily operate in English or who aren't based in Manila, especially, for example, like indigenous culture. I think that there's so much to learn about artistry, crafts, you know, relating to the environment, supporting our earth, sustainability. So I think that that's something that also needs to be considered as well when we think about this question.
Thank you for that. And since you have mentioned about a quality education, I have to agree with you that, you know, because in the Philippines, there is a common misconception that when you speak good English, it automatically equates for you to be someone who is intelligent, someone who is far more beyond those people who can speak straight English. So thank you for pointing that out, that you don't have to be English proficient or you don't have to be fluent in English just to be labeled as knowledgeable, just to be labeled as intelligent. So having been able to talk about the quality education, Miss Aryan, you have the experience to teach students in Holy Angel University in Pampanga. How was it like? And do you consider that in the Philippines we have a quality education, really?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed teaching Arabic to students, and it was very meaningful because a lot of my students, they have parents working abroad, whether it's in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, so they were able to practice or like use some of what they learned to their parents, which was really cool. In terms of like, I will say like a positive about the Philippine education system and a negative. So something that's positive, I think the Philippines is really, really good at promoting international exchange. So I met a lot of Filipino students, both in undergraduate and graduate studies, who either pursued like further studies abroad, whether it's in the US or the UK, or they're working abroad. So when I was in Dubai, I actually met a lot of Holy Angel students who are engineers in Dubai or who work in marketing or in the hospitality industry. So I think it's really cool that Filipinos venture out and work in other countries as well. something that could be improved about the education system, I think it really boils down to early childhood education. For me, I think there's a link between education and economic development. And due to malnutrition, due to widespread poverty in the Philippines, I think that that's affecting the stunted brain development of children. So they're not really able to perform as well in school. So I think we have to fix, the poverty issue in the Philippines, and that will lead to greater educational results.
Oh, I agree with that actually, because I have also said it in some of my interviews that sometimes poverty affects the quality of education that a person can get or that a child can get. So how about you, Miss Julia? Having been able to get scholarships abroad, how do you think that does education shape the way students think? Because as what Miss Arian have mentioned, that it affects actually the malnutrition, the widespread poverty here in the Philippines. And you have mentioned earlier that you had such difficulty when it comes to funding yourself, so you had to go on your way and find scholarship that can fund you. So having been able to say that, what role does education really take place into shaping what students think in the society nowadays?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think education is kind of, I guess, the cornerstone of your worldview, or at least it's a very, strong, it's the foundation of it. I think that it gave me a lot of confidence in my ability to work through the world, and my ability to solve problems, to understand what's going on around me. I think that it's really important for people to get education simply because it awards you with more opportunities in life. I always wanted to have a better life, not just for myself, but also for, the people around me, my family. I also wanted to lift my country. And I think it's really important to have an education to support that. Also because if you're going to be of influence or in a position of impact, then to have the knowledge and the intelligence to support whatever you're doing is very important. I would say, though, that I think a lot of people conflate degrees and education with either worthiness or I guess capability, which is not necessarily true. Obviously, it depends which industry. I want to be an aeronautical engineer and work for Airbus. I can't do that right now. I definitely need to have a background in engineering and so on and so forth to be able to pursue that path. But I think that it's easy to be blinded by people's degrees or accolades or titles or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think what's more important in a lot of roles and positions is your character and your integrity. Are you a person? Do you have vision to support creating a world that's better and more equitable? I think that those things are actually way more valuable. And I'm seeing this as I'm working in the industry right now, and just in general, looking at my friends who are in a wide range of careers, from banking to, startups, sustainability, everything really. And I think what's really, really important is integrity. I also think that now, things are changing. There's so many new ways that become educated, get an education, or learn new skills. There's so many ways online. There's so many ways through informal education. There's so many ways through just grafting through life that you can learn things. And I think that should not be discredited. Lots of people don't fit in the normal traditional education systems because it doesn't really help or support them, because it's not necessarily a framework that works for people. And so I think that, these alternative methods of becoming, I guess, more capable or more educated or knowledgeable, gaining skills, upskilling, they should be just as, I guess, people should be receptive to that kind of thing, especially in an environment now where you don't need a degree to make money or to make an impact. There's so many people online, there's so many people creating and disrupting so many old systems. So I think that's important to consider as well. You don't need to pay $250,000, which most people don't even have, or get into debt.
I don't even have that.
I don't have that.
I wish.
So yeah, there's some patience.
Yeah. But I also have to agree with what you said earlier that education is not just for yourself. It's actually a ticket for you to bring a brighter future, not just for you, but also for the people who support you, like your family. So we have a question here actually, and it's aligned with my next question for Miss Arian. It says here from April Joshua C. Do you believe that it's not poverty that kills the dreams of the children, but rather the support that they get from the people around them? Because we have this thing in the Philippines that they treat things that fall under liberal arts like it's always career over passion. It's a normal thing here, especially in a Filipino family culture, that you cannot be an artist, you cannot be a painter, you cannot be a musician because it's more valuable for them for you to be able to become someone who is more professional by their definition, like doctor, like a lawyer or engineer. So, what is your take on this, Miss Arian? Do you believe that it's not the poverty that kills the dreams of the children, but rather the support that they get from the people around them?
Yeah, so I think it's a mixture of both. I think if they don't have access to, I guess, the resources to become, whether it be an engineer or an educator, etc., then they won't be able to really pursue that, or it'll be difficult for them to pursue it. But it's also like if they have this lack of encouragement from their parents or from their peers, or even from their teachers, that could possibly stop them from pursuing it further. It doesn't mean that they will necessarily, like people have told me no before, and I've gotten many, many rejections, and people have told me like, you're not going to make it. But then I just kind of prove them wrong, and I just keep fighting, and I'm resilient like that. So I just, I keep pursuing my passions. But there are instances when, if you don't have the resources, or if you don't really have the self-esteem or self-confidence, you'll just stop pursuing it altogether if you're surrounded by an environment that doesn't support you and your passion. So I think it could be a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree also with that. And of course, aside from familiar pressure and that or the pressure that you get from your family and also the pressure that your dreams are putting onto you, it's actually a lot more harder if you're going through something or if you're trying to pursue something if you don't have the means to do it.
Yeah.
So Miss Arian, you have and Miss Julia, you guys have an experience working with people who does not have enough even to put food on their table. So having that kind of experience and seeing the reality of what it's like to live here in the Philippines, what do you think is the best change that we can offer or we can suggest, not just to the government, but to the society or to the community that we can do like step by step as a simple human being with someone who has no power, but has the power only to influence and to educate other people? What do you think can we do as humans, as beauty queens, or as a woman or as women, to encourage people to support these young children to educate themselves or to study? Miss Julia.
Yeah, I think there are several things in that question. I think just in terms of making an impact in general, like what you said, how can we contribute to bettering our country? I think the Philippines, like Filipinos are very patriotic, which I think is, very proud to be Filipino. I think that if we have that kind of, collective spirit and we continue to just actually follow through with action and not just in how we profess, our patriotism, I think that that's really important as well. So simple things like, tithing, for example, like if you're part of a church and you contribute to the church, if you're not religious, like taking that same concept and applying it to volunteerism or to different, I guess, like organizations, right? Like if you make X amount, like donating 10% of your monthly salary to an organization or a volunteer group, like that's something very practical and simple that everyone can do. I understand right now we're in a pandemic, so obviously not everyone has the luxury of having extra cash, which is obviously fair and very terrible and difficult for those people. So, even just contributing in whatever small influence you have and really just having, again, like having integrity in your work and in your life, in your family, in who you are. I think that's already like a huge way that you can uplift like those around you and your community, and you a good Filipino and a good person. So I think that's very important. Like practically there are ways to contribute, and
Mhm.
generally, like I think just having integrity in all that you do is like already very important, and showing other people that you're like a good steward, Filipino, a good person. I guess in terms of specifically empowering people to pursue their education, I think like I unfortunately don't have very many connections to, let's say, like young girls or early, you know, people in their early education, but I definitely speak of, you know, the importance of my education in everything that I do, and I try to, I guess, focus on intelligence and I guess like what you have to offer in your mind and in your
Mhm.
heart over physical beauty. And I think that that's very apparent in everything I do, especially in what I do now, very like looks focused or very appearance focused. And so I think that that's really important, like pushing back on the focus on like physical beauty, but offering up something more. And I think that just being vocal about how it is really important to have, you know, your heart centered and your mind strong, and to really focus on like continual learning, not just like, okay, you need to finish school. It's really like, what am I doing after I finish school that's ensuring that I'm learning, I'm progressing, I'm evolving, I'm
Mhm.
contributing to something bigger than myself. So yeah, and I think even when I worked with young girls through my um, advo- advocacy, Filipinos love that word, and you know, I
Yeah.
to stress like the importance of education, and do what I can to contribute financially. So yeah, I think that those are some tips that I
Oh
have.
yeah, so most of it are self-encouragement and pushing yourself to go further and to discover what you can offer to the society and to the world. So I like that also. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take some of that advices and apply it to myself also, because sometimes I also think that I cannot do some things, but if you're gonna push yourself further, of course, like Miss Arian have said earlier, she has received a lot of no's in her life, and what she did was proven wrong. So from encouraging yourself, of course, Miss Arian, I have to ask you, you were able to work in Education USA as an ambassador for the U.S. Embassy here in Manila. So you were able to see the difference in education culture from abroad, and also like Miss Julia from abroad and here in the Philippines. So what do you think should we focus more on, like changing or improving in our education system to continue the level of learning that is sufficient to expand our concept of educational development?
I think that it would be really amazing if the Philippines and if more universities in the Philippines could implement like liberal arts education, um, and not really have a stigma about it. So in their core curricula, I think that they should require like first year college students to take, one class in math, one class in science, one class in English, um, sociology or philosophy, etc. I think having that liberal arts education would create like a holistic educational experience. And for
Mhm.
me, and also for a lot of my classmates in the States before, I think it really allowed us to have this holistic view of education and really appreciate different fields other than our major, our chosen desired field. So I think that would really allow them to view different issues from various lenses.
Yeah, because yeah, I agree with you that philosophy, sociology, and other courses that actually fall under liberal arts are not really something that is very common for Filipinos to take when it comes to college courses. So I also have to agree that some of those courses really shape the way we think in the society. It shapes how we interact with other people. It shapes how we interact with the government, with the society, with the community, and how we act as people. So I think it's also as important as the other professional courses that they are labeling here in the Philippines, like the medical field, the engineering field, and being teacher, being a lawyer. It's as equally important as those who are falling under the liberal arts. So having been able to like say that about liberal arts, what is the greatest thing that you have learned from education that has changed the way you see the society, Miss Julia?
Um, I think that's such a big question. I can't pinpoint one specifically.
Okay, just an effort that comes into your mind first. So what is that for our greatest breakthrough or
Um,
greatest parang light bulb moment that, oh my God, I've seen a new idea, I've seen a new outlook in the society. So what is that moment? I just want to know because I haven't experienced like going abroad and then studying. I was just able to go abroad and then travel. So I'm not really like immersed to educational culture. So what difference of the studying abroad really put you into? Like, what have you realized?
mhm. I think, I mean, there is really like one moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this math class is like I've realized the answers to all my questions. But I think it's definitely opened my mind up. I've become a much more open person. I see a lot more possibility um,
Mm-hmm.
in what I'm able to offer in my role in the world, also in the people around me. I think that that's really important as well. This is super corny, but I think the more you know, the more you know, the more you realize you actually. What is that quote? You know what I'm saying? It's like the more that you
The more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know anything or something like that. I think it's the thought. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm getting where you are getting. So
yeah,
yeah, I just can't pinpoint the same exact thought actually. So
yeah.
yeah, I think I'm getting it. Yeah.
It's just made me realize like I actually like there's actually so much more to learn about.
Mhm.
And that's also really important as well. It's like you can't really be so unyielding in your own position or in your own understanding because there's so much more to learn and understand
Yeah.
about everything and to consider like a variety of perspectives and to consider I guess like other people's experiences as well. So I think that that's opened my mind up a lot. I think I used to be quite arrogant thinking that I knew a lot and I think
Mhm.
a lot of us do now with social media where don't get the vaccine, do get the vaccine, don't do this,
Right.
do
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
opinion, and we're so like we're so self-righteous about it and like quite arrogant, I think, sometimes about, what we think we know. But it's important to understand like, there's actually a lot more to just, to answering a question or to an opinion and just be open to that and not so unyielding.
Oh, it must be so refreshing to be humbled by an experience that from, thinking that you know everything or thinking that you know a lot better than anyone else. And then being humbled by the experience that, oh, I actually don't know that much. I actually don't know a lot. So, yeah, it's a humbling experience for you. And I can say that I can truly see it because hearing you talk earlier, I just learned a lot from you. And I also had the same realization as you that, oh my God, I have so much to learn. Everything that I know yet is not even the tip of the iceberg. So I have yet to learn more in the future, and I have to educate myself about certain topics that really concern not just me but also the society. And speaking of that, Miss Arian, since you were able to like do talks, since you were a consultant on UNESCO, and I know you have also a lot, you are also an inspirational or motivational speaker. Um, what is it that you like sharing to people or to students? What greatest lesson is it that you always like to leave to people who are listening to you?
I would say that, I mean, it's easy to say this, but it's kind of hard to practice this. I always promote the 3 Ds, so dedication, determination, discipline. I sometimes struggle with discipline. For example, like if I tell myself to wake up at like 7:30 or 8:30, I don't. But other than that, like I think it's very important to have these qualities as well as diligence. It's very easy to lose sight of your goal or lose your way, especially
Mhm.
if you're comparing yourself to other people, which I'm guilty of doing. I remember doing that when I was competing in pageants before. Um, like I would always read blogs and I would be affected about like what others would think about me. But I think what's important is staying true to your goal, um,
Mhm.
having a good sense of like your, what's it called, your core beliefs and core values. So for me, it's always trying to have dedication, determination, and discipline, um, and really like highlighting your strengths and working upon your weaknesses. So that's something that I've taken to all the different jobs that I've been pursuing. And I think it's really important that you just try not to compare yourself to other people. I think it's kind of inevitable, but really focus on yourself and your goals.
Oh my God, I'm learning a lot from this talk. I actually like the determination, discipline, and dedication. I think I'm gonna have to practice that, and also pursuing different career goals that can also fit me as my career line in the future. I actually admire you both because you have such a well and very diverse background when it comes to education and all the careers that you guys have been pursuing for so many years. So I think I have asked my questions that have been boggling my mind for the whole week because I was so worried that I'm not gonna ask the right questions. But hear you girls talk for tonight, it just made me learn so much, and I think that I love to learn more about you by reading some questions from the audience. So I'm gonna read this one, and Miss Julia, I think you can be the first one to answer this. From 17th of 98. He was asking, now that we are in the middle of a pandemic, it would take quite a time to like recover, which is true. Would you advise a child to choose his passion over what's practical?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I was looking at it earlier and I was like, ah, that's a good question. I think, that's, yeah, really good question. I think before I was a little bit naive and I was like, you should know what you want, like pursue everything, do like, I was a lot less practical about life and was kind of just like, let me just do what I feel like when I feel like it. I think that, in anything, obviously, it is a privilege actually to not have to think about your family and to not have to think about supporting other people and to just make decisions based on what you want to do and what you do. And I think that I've been really lucky in that I don't have any dependents. I don't have to send money back to my family. And that's allowed me to make very specific choices about my career, about my education, about how I want to pursue my passions and live my life. I do understand that other people are not in a similar position. Like other people have kids who depend on, or if you're a young kid, like you might have to send money back home to your family and relying on you. So I understand that, if it's a position of privilege I was in where I didn't have to think about these kind of factors. I do think if you are in a position where you do have dependents, you may need to, support your family in that way, then it's important to consider these practical things. I would say that you shouldn't compromise yourself completely, or you should compromise your passion, your own dreams and desires, because those are just valid and those are just as important. And I think that there can be a lot of resentment that can build up in anyone who doesn't get to choose his or herself, right? In any context, like whether it's like a relationship or career or anything. Like if you don't get yourself and what you want to do, then eventually you're going to crack or there's going to be some resentment. It's not going to be healthy. So I think obviously finding a way to do both, if you pursue your passion and that can generate money and that can help, your family and help sustain you, that's probably the best way forward, because obviously you're also going to do better at things that you like. If you're doing something you don't like just to make money or just for the sake of it, for your family, just because they told you to, you're not going to excel in it and you're not going to be happy. And ultimately, like, it's important to be happy. Like, that's the most important thing. So I think if you can do both, I would advise that. If you really do have to, make a choice, like, and have to support other people, then of course, like, have a job that allows you to make money and support those around you that are relying on your support. But I would say don't compromise yourself and your dreams completely. Work on it, like have that hustler mentality, work on it when you can, find other ways to get involved. It doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It doesn't have to be like, I'm gonna pursue, it's either I do 100% or nothing, it's either I do like sign 100 million% or 100% or nothing. Like there's always ways that you can make everything work.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It actually makes a lot more sense because coming from a person, because if you're going to ask someone like me, I'm a breadwinner of the family, I always have to say that you choose practicality over your passion because sometimes over, over some years, you can still pursue your passion. But as for now, you still need to like give back to your family or to your parents to support them also for their education. But hearing it from someone who doesn't need to like worry about anything else or anyone else, it actually gave me a lot of refreshment of a fresh perspective when it comes to deciding on things that matter. Like as for what you've said, you can do things or work for something that gives you money, but at the same time make sure that it makes you happy, make sure that you love what you're doing, because at the end of the day it doesn't really matter if it doesn't make you happy. So thank you for putting that out in here and for sharing your thoughts. But for Miss Arian, I'm gonna ask a very serious question. It's actually from one of the viewers, but I'm gonna have to read a few backgrounds. So during the pandemic, it changed the whole methodology of education and the narrative of studying. So given unequal privileges, not being rich, not being able to buy iPads or tablets or cell phones for online classes, a large ratio from our education sector was affected, especially the people or the students that are living beyond the margin of poverty. And education is necessary to move forward. So what do you think, or what is your take on this, Miss Ariad? Are online classes as effective as face-to-face classes? And I just have to read the question here. What are your take about online classes? Is it really beneficial for us, especially in the middle of the pandemic, or it is just detrimental?
I would say that there's pros and cons of virtual remote classes. I personally prefer in-person classes because I love that social aspect of being able to interact with my professors and classmates. But obviously with like Zoom classes, that's not really a thing. But what I do think is great about remote learning is that it's definitely allowed people to develop their technical skills, like they become more knowledgeable of technological advances and like the different platforms. So for instance, when I was working from home, I had to learn how to use Zoom. I had to learn different websites, like how to function different websites like Canva, which is like a design tool. I also learned different apps and programs that I wouldn't have been able to learn had I just been working at the office. So I've definitely became more tech savvy through working from home and also studying from home. And I've been exposed to more websites and programs that I definitely wouldn't have been able to had I just been at the office the whole time.
Okay, so it's really a long conversation. I have to like really say that because education is not just about the surface of like learning. It's more than that. It's addressing poverty. It's addressing the government's policies and the transformative policies that they are offering to students, and not just to students but also to the community. So it's a lot more conversation to really talk about the education. But I'm really happy that you guys were able to like share your thoughts, and I, as a person, was able to like learn something from two wonderful girls. So to end this session, I just have one last question for the both of you, but I'm gonna ask Miss Julia first. There is a question here that I think is very universal, and I think that would fit both of your credentials because I was able to read it earlier. So he says in here that from 17th of 98, in terms of education programs and supports in our country, do you think that the Philippines is a long way to go, or we're all good with what we have now? And what does it really mean for like people to have a quality education? And how does that factor help alleviate our current situation to further progress as a nation? So the question is here in the comments. So Miss Julia, what is your take on this? Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's here.
No, I think, in all honesty, we have a long way to go.
Right.
That said, I believe in the potential of our people. I think, as I've said earlier, like Filipinos are the most like joyful, hardworking, resilient people in the world. I've been so, honestly, I'm so proud to be Filipino. Whenever I go anywhere and I say I'm Filipino, everyone's like, I love Filipinos. You guys are amazing and so nice. And so, yeah, I think, we have the most important resource, which is people, right? So I think if we can continue to improve our education system to support to support its, our people and to support our ambition and our potential. I think that, we need to keep moving, working towards that. What was the second part of the question?
It's sorry. So
It was a hard
since we
question.
have a long way to go,
Yeah.
what does it mean for people to
Oh,
like
yeah.
have a quality education, and how does that help us alleviate our current situation
Yeah.
for us to further, progress as a nation,
Yeah.
since we have still a long way to go?
Yeah. I think, that's a big question, but I think in essence, it's like about does our education support our ambition and our potential? Are we growing into more capable, more confident, more, you know, capable people, critical thinkers? Is our education system supporting that? Is it allowing us to um, create more opportunities for ourselves and those around us? And it would be remiss to say that the answer to all that is yes, because I think there's still gaps. There's some people who still can't afford to take off, time to do school. I think that it needs to support people, like the most underprivileged people, and I think that it's definitely going to take time and resource and energy. But again, I think that people are the most important resource, and they are the foundation of any nation state. So I think that it should be our priority to improve the quality of our education so that we are actually equipping people to reach their full potential, equipping all people in the Philippines to reach their potential and to, both individually and also because, we deserve it as a country. We're so vibrant and brilliant and beautiful. And I think that it, it's only fair and just because I think that we have so much to offer as Filipinos and as a Filipino. Yeah.
I like what you said earlier, that the people are the best resource of a country, and I have to really agree with that. And of course, what you have said earlier, that Filipinos are naturally joyful, naturally happy and beautiful. But I also like that you pointed out that we still have a long way to go. And it really shows that no matter how resilient Filipinos are known to be, we don't have to hide the fact that we still need to improve on some things, especially in education here in the Philippines. So I like that you also pointed out that we still have a long way to go when it comes to education and improving as a country. So to simplify the question, I'm sorry, Miss Julia, I think you were overwhelmed by the amount of questions that I was throwing earlier. So just to simplify the question, Miss Arian, it's still the same
Right.
from what I asked Miss Julia. Do you still think that the Philippines is also a long way to go, or we're good with what we have now? And of course, does our current situation enough for it to be equated as a good quality education, or we still need more to progress as a nation?
Long way to go, and we definitely still need to do more. I actually, to sum it up, I have 5 suggestions. So the first thing, early childhood education. Again, I think due to like the stunted child development, we have to address the issue of poverty, which is really linked to, so economic development is linked to education. So I think we have to address poverty in the Philippines. I know that you asked this question to Julia about English and reading comprehension. With that, I think we need to promote more like critical thinking activities in school, and also do this through innovative educational programming. So not just reading like textbooks, but also reading things that students would genuinely be interested in, whether it's like graphic novels or articles, etc. I think that that could really exercise the brain and allow students to really enjoy the education. We need to find a better way to address the pandemic as well. I think there has been some disagreements with the Duterte administration and also Secretary Briones about like how to really conduct classes. I think from the last thing I read, I think Secretary Briones wants in-person classes, whereas Duterte does not. So I think they just need to sort things out and see things eye to eye in order to come up with a more effective solution to addressing the pandemic. liberal arts education, I know there's a stigma against it, but I would love for more schools to implement that. I know that at Holy Angel University, they're starting to already. So I would love more universities to really value liberal arts education and exploring different fields. And lastly, I think schools should implement like diversity and inclusion initiatives and diversity and inclusion in their teaching, whether it's learning more about the LGBT community in the Philippines or indigenous Aita populations in the Philippines. I think that discussions on those communities could really increase awareness of these groups and also promote diversity and inclusion in the classroom.
Oh my God, I really love the 5 suggestions, and I totally will side with you on the first one when it comes to addressing poverty, because I have always said this, that poverty is a deeply rooted problem in the society, and one of the causes of poverty is lack of education, and that is what really is happening right now, especially with no means of most of the Filipinos, especially having to worry about what they're gonna eat tomorrow, having to worry about if they're gonna still get job tomorrow, and then having to worry about the education of their children. So it really affects everything. Poverty really affects even the simplest thing in a basic human life, and that is education. And I think that is a human right of every person, not just in the Philippines, but in the world. And if it's being affected by poverty, then we should address poverty as it is. And, make more problems, team up with the government, make more policies that are more transformative, that are more for the people. Because at the end of the day, again, as what Miss Julia have said earlier, that people are the best resource of country. So we should give value to these people, but of course, supporting them and what they deserve as people to get from the government or from the society or the community. So I thank you so much for addressing that. I love the 5 suggestions, and also incorporating liberal arts education in the universities. I just hope that I think people from education sector can see this and then pitch this as an idea to make new policies. But I love that. Thank you so much, Miss Julia, for your words this evening, and also Miss Arian for, of course, for your suggestions. I cannot. I'm out of words. I cannot say anything because I truly agree with all the things that you have said. And to end this live this evening, do you have any other things to say to our viewers, Miss Julia? Starting off with Miss Julia.
Nothing else, but just thank you so much. And I hope that you've learned something and can continue to support all of us here. And yeah, it's been a real privilege and a lot of fun to talk to both of you. And I'll have to see you again. And
Thank you.
You're moving to the States, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm already in the States. I just moved literally like last week. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm excited for this new chapter for you, and Joy, also excited for your Miss World journey. So thanks so much for
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Julia Sobier, Binibining Philippines candidate. And I have read a comment earlier saying that you should join Miss Universe Philippines. So I'm also looking forward to seeing you on stage. I hope anytime soon. And yeah, I'm also cheering for you. And also, Miss Arian, do you have anything to say to our viewers tonight?
Yeah, well, first I want to say that I really enjoyed connecting with you both. I really loved hearing Julia's insights on education and her experiences as well. And Joy, I wish you all the best in Miss World Philippines. I'm sure
Thank you.
really, really good. I also want to thank the viewers for joining tonight. I was reading some of the comments earlier, very engaging. Yeah, so Julia, I also hope to see you soon. Where are you now? Are you in the UK?
Yes, I'm in the UK. Sorry, I was just running. Thanks so much for all the questions. They were great. I'm in the UK. I'm in London right now. I haven't been back in the Philippines for so long, so I hope to go back soon. But yeah, COVID and everything.
Right. I wanted to go to the UK because I was in Dubai just before this, and I think the UK is like, what, 3 hours away? So yeah, I wanted to go there, but then COVID, as you know, so I wasn't able to. But we'll see each other again, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come from.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, ladies. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you girls tonight and for giving me your time. Of course, I understand that Miss Julia and, of course, Miss Arian are so busy with their lives, especially they are career women and they have lots of things going on with their lives. So thank you so much for giving me your time this Saturday night in the Philippines from UK, Miss Julia Sabier from UK, and of course, Miss Arian Kalingo from the US. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I hope I can still talk to you guys soon about education and further about topics that matters. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I hope you guys stay safe and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. Also, you were so good. You're such a great host
Yeah.
and
Oh, thank you so
interviewer. Yeah, great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to take that as a compliment because it really is. And especially it came from Beauty Queens. So thank you so much for allowing me to do this. And of course, to our viewers, this parting words for this evening. Some takeaways from what we have talked about, especially with Miss Julia and with Miss Arian. Education allows us to explore new ideas, to learn and relearn existing practices, and to interact with different people. And it is always a pathway to breakthrough of successes. And as the saying goes, knowledge is and will always be power. So that's it for our episode 2 tonight. As always, let's all be purposefully involved in the matters that matter. Again, this is Joy Barcoma. Good night, everyone. Good night, Miss Arian. Good night, Miss Julia.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. So much.
Bye.